Hello, and thank you for joining me, Amber Moore. I am your host for Real Bois Talk podcast. Today, we're going to take it and go a little bit on an educational level. Okay, we're going to do Civics 101. And I know you're wondering, why are we talking about Civics 101? Let me explain. I'm finding that right now we're in a crucial time. In about 3 weeks, we will actually, early voting has already started, but November the 5th, we all are going to be voting for our next president for the next 4 years. All right. We have two candidates, Republican candidate and a Democratic candidate. So what we're looking for is, I don't believe, and as I hear people talk and around this country, people have forgotten who does what, who is in control of what. I hear a lot of people saying, well, Donald Trump gave me a check. No, Donald Trump signed those checks, but his department is not the reason why you got those checks. So I felt like, hey, there's so many misinformation out there. Let me just kind of do a little bit of a cleanup work, okay? Let me just kind of do a moment of, hey, let's do a refresher course on civics, because I feel like that in some cases, people just really do not have a clue what the government does. And I feel bad about that. So we're going to kind of look at some things. Now, when we talk about civics is the study of rights and duties of citizenship and the functionality of the government. It explains the roles that the citizens play in society, how the government operates, and the responsibility that individuals have as a member of a political community. Civics is not just a body of knowledge, but it is also a way to cultivate active participation in democratic processes and governance. Ooh, all of that's fancy. Basically, bottom line is, civics is about our role as U.S. citizens, the role of the government, and what our responsibility is to our country, right? So we're going to talk about different things. The core of civics actually has four different departments, or four different segments: citizenship, government, democracy and participation, justice, and law. Those are the four things that encompass civics. And we might not get to all of them, but I'm going to try my very best to get to the most important ones, which I really feel like all four of them are very important. But in this case, I've noticed so many times we do not know what part of our government does what. So we start saying stuff like, well, Biden didn't do this and Biden didn't do that. And, Harris doesn't do this and Harris is not doing that. In so many ways, guys, your president and vice president are like, how do I explain it? They're overseers. They make sure that everything is functioning and moving properly. Do they make the laws? Absolutely not. That's why you have three departments of your government, and we will talk about what each one does, because I think we have all truly forgotten what this government does. And in so many instances, the government, and I'm going to say Congress more than anything, the two departments of Congress are making us think we work for them. And it's not that way. I have always said, and I truly believe, if this was done, you would see a whole different governing body of the government when it comes to Congress. If you took away them $100 and something $1,000 checks that these people get, take away their plane that they ride in for free, all this stuff, and you made them have to, pay for their own ticket to get to Washington, and they only got, let's say, $15,000 a year, because this is not your job. This is you are voted in as a public servant to your area in which you say I'm representing. Which means if you're representing me, I should not be broke making sure you make $175,000 a year, right? And that you get all these accolades. That is just not how this works. But for some reason, we have gotten this whole thing kind of twisted. So I just want to make sure that we get it clear. Okay, and that we understand what we're voting and what these people are supposed to be doing. It will be critical no matter who gets in the office as your president. It's more critical that you understand this if it is not Harris. I'm just going to say it. And you can disagree and say, well, I think, Trump is a better whatever. I am not here to go either way. Okay, I am not here to go either way. So I feel like this is how we have to look at things. Okay. And so that's why I feel like we need to have this conversation. So we're going to look at, I'm going to give you briefings of the 4 things that I just mentioned. Citizenship, that is understanding the rights, the duties, and the privilege of being a member of a state or nation. That means being citizenship. That means, what is my right in this country as a member of this country? I was born here. My family, different aspects of my family, we're going to say, were brought here. Some immigrated here, and it's the United States of America is known, when I was growing up, it was known as a melting pot. Okay, because it was come to our country where you have the opportunity to live the American dream. You can make this whatever you want it to be, right? It's not quite like that now, but hey, that is the piece that we have to look at as citizens, right? We have an uprising, we have a duty to understand what our rights are as a citizen. The next one is government. Government is the study of different forms of governance, the role of various governmental institutions, and how laws and policies are made. The government really truly make sure that everything runs right, that our dollar bill does not plummet, that our economy does not go down the tubes, that things don't get outrageous, that pharmaceutical companies do not just rob us blind or just giving us anything. So inside the government are all these different departments: Department of Education, the FDA. Those things are all part of IRS. All those things are part of our government, right? Then we have justice and law, understanding the legal framework that governs society, individual rights, and how justice is administrated. Now, that's important because we all know that systematically, Black people have never been treated fairly. I'm just going to put it out there. We have never been, justice and law has never really truly been a positive when it comes to the Black community. It's historically, you can go back in history from the very day we step foot on this particular soil. All right, so let's look at some things. The importance of civics. It plays a crucial role in modern society for several reasons. It's to promotes informed citizenship. That means civics helps individuals understand the mechanics of our government, allows people to understand what informal decisions when voting, engaging with the public policies, and advocating for social change. That's really a lot of that, right? That's a lot of what civics is about. It empowers individuals. It fosters civic responsibility, strengthens democracy as well. It also encourages social consciousness, all right, and promotes accountability. Now, has it been doing that? I got my own opinions, but I'm going to say that's what it's supposed to do. That is what civics, the purpose of civics is supposed to do for us, is to give us these knowledge. So to more and more that we understand civics and what's entailed in it, the more we're going to be able to be better citizens in this country. And be more alert. And I think a lot of times, I'm going to be honest with you, do research. Don't just take the first thing that you saw on TikTok and go, hey, that's the law. They said it and that's it. No, ask the question, I wonder why, what, when, who. Ask those questions. Make sure that you're getting exactly what you feel you need to be able to make a sound and solid decision. Don't just take the words of, oh, she did this and he do that and they gonna give us money. Don't do that. Do your research. Okay. See, it's like getting a job. You have to submit a resume. Look at these people's resume. And when I'm saying people, please understand, civics, first and foremost, if you really want to know the truth, starts in your local area. To learn who is your local representatives. Who is your CEO of your county, or who's running your school board? Who's the superintendent? All of that stuff, local. And that's when I get to the point where people, and I know I'm gonna jump around, guys, but I promise all this ties in. It will. One of the things that I hear the most is that my vote don't count. And it's always when we have to vote for presidency, right? That's always, hey, my vote don't count, da-da-da. Okay, fine. We're going to address that hopefully through this process that I'm going to go through today. But the biggest thing I want you to look at is your vote does count when it comes to your local. Your vote does count when it comes to who your mayor is. Your vote does count when it comes to who's city council, who's like here in Atlanta, Fulton County commissioners. Your vote does count. And it makes a difference. It's an instant movement on what's going to happen to your property taxes, your sale taxes, your car tax, all that stuff. It matters. So for me, all of these different steps that go from local, state, federal, all those things count. My vote counts all the way up to the very top. Okay. It's just that because being president is a larger responsibility. It's got more light on it. We don't always be talking about, okay, let's put light on these mayors. It doesn't work that way. Or on the governors. Yes, we have the race. Yes, everybody's concerned, but it's not like running for president. And I get that, but we're going to talk about more of that later. So anyway, here's the thing. The key responsibilities of citizens in this democracy is actually 7 things. Just 7 key roles. First thing is voting. The most important to me, and it's just my thing, is one of the most fundamental rights and responsibilities in democracy is voting. Voting, I guess you could say through voting, you are choosing who represents you in your area. Okay? You are deciding, you listen to them and you said, this person has this kind of outlook that I like. I like what they're saying. I like how they handle everything. This is who I'm going to vote for. So you need to be able to choose. You get to choose through voting. Citizens are choosing representatives to make decisions on their behalf. Let me say that again, because I want to make sure y'all really truly understand what I'm saying. When you're voting for your senator, House of Representatives, city council, county commissioners, these people work for you. You choose to vote for them. You give them your vote because they are able to represent you. They're representing you when it comes to policies, when it comes to laws. If they're not saying something that's going to benefit you, then you don't vote for them. I'm going to give you a prime example. Women rights. Why would I go for somebody who just got rid of Roe versus Wade? Why would I vote for somebody who is proud to say that he got rid of that? When now, not only has the Black woman mortality rate has gone up due to not getting proper health care when it comes to being pregnant, losing her child, more miscarriages, all kinds of things are happening. It's even higher now because those women who the doctors could save their lives by doing an abortion cannot do that because now you have put fear in these healthcare workers, these doctors, because now you've told them that they can be put in jail if they do these kind of things because you have gotten rid of a law that's supposed to help them. Yes, I'm getting on the soapbox because I want you all to know that, yes, your vote for your interest. And I mean that when I say, if they look like you and they're talking things that are able to help you and you do your research, vote for them. It's not a doubt in my mind. Black woman, she got my vote. You know why? Because she's saying stuff that I need to hear. You know what she's saying? For us who are masculine presenting, who are listening to me talk today, I need you to understand what she's saying if you don't know. She's letting you know that you will continue to be masculine. The other side is saying you will not. You will not be able to continue to be married to that woman that you're married to. That's a no. He cannot be married to the man that he's married to. That's a no. Those of our brothers and sisters who are transgender, that's a no on that end. Look at who's got your best interest when you are voting. Your vote is precious. It is necessary. It is a true privilege. And I want y'all to understand that my family, and I know many of y'all's family, fought so that today we could go vote. I went to vote today. I casted my vote. I'm very happy with everything that I did, and we're good, right? So when you are looking at the most important, what I feel the most key role in being a citizen in this Citizen 101 is voting, because this is the process that ensures that the government will reflect the will of the people. Let me say that again. Voting is the process that ensures that the government reflects the will of the people. What is the will of the people? What looks like me, talks like me, and or has my interest in their concern. When they are able to say, I'm gonna let you continue. I don't care who sleeps in your bedroom. When they say that your body belongs to you, and it does not, the government should not be in your bedroom. The government should not be in the examination room. The government should not be making decisions what you do with your body. I'm putting it out there. That means that voting, to me, is a key role to your civics understanding. The next thing is civic engagement. Come on, guys. If you're not engaged, if you have kids, find out what the hell the school board in your area is doing. Those people are voted on. Some of those things are appointed, but a lot of superintendent things of those nature, some of those placements on the school board, you must vote for that person. Look at who they are. Look at what they do, because a lot of times when it comes to us as Black people and brown people, they are not looking for our best interests of our children. Remember, think about this. And I believe it full-heartedly. Think about how school is structured. Some schools are structured. Let's put it that way. Some public schools are structured to prepare our kids, not they kids, our kids, to go from what they call the cradle to prison. It's structured to give them understand. They sit, they got to walk with each other. They got to get in a line. They got to do this. They got to do that. There's no individuality in there, and that we don't encourage our children to have individuality. So when our kids try to have individuality, they're made fun of. They're bullied. Think about this. Now, if that's the case, I need to see who's on the school board, because I need to have a different look. That's what I mean by civil engagement. Also, it is, and this is how it is, it's active participation. I know we all got jobs. We're trying to make sure we make money. But guess what? Being active in your community on a civic engagement level will make sure and ensure that there's a possibility that, one, your property taxes don't get outrageous, or your ability to be able to pick and choose what neighborhood you want to live in because you can afford it, and they're not trying to gold you or take advantage of you because of the skin color, because they don't really want you in the neighborhood. So they go, no. I know that house says it's, $400,000, but it's over $250,000, it's over, $1.75 million or whatever. That doesn't happen. Okay. If you are engaged in your neighborhood, in your community, and that means you can be engaged by joining community organizations, attending public meetings, participating in protests. It is essential for the democratic governance that we get involved. No, just because I voted for someone to be in that particular field to represent my area, I can't just close my eyes and go to bed. I also have to go, hey, I heard that this bill is coming out. How are you planning to vote on it? Because I don't agree that we should have that. And because you represent this area, you need to be able to tell me, hey, why you voting that way? Please understand, and this is what we don't do. We do not take the time to call these representatives that we've given our vote to after elections. We just go, okay, we voted for them, they in, and keep it moving. No. Call them. Hey, you're out of session. What happened? What did you vote on? What did you say? Did you sit there with your finger up your ass, or was you digging in your nose, or was you even present while they was making speeches? Oh, you wasn't? Why? What were you doing? Who was you talking to? And I heard that you were being lobbied or being, special treatment with this particular lobbyist. We don't agree with what they're doing. They're polluting our water, or they're polluting our air, or they're chopping down too many trees. You must stay on top of this. And I'm saying this to my brown and Black, masculine presenting. Okay. And I'm saying it to us because we are not, there's not a lot of us in the government. They're there in Atlanta and in Georgia. We have some representatives that are masculine presenting, and I thank them for that. because they now have a representation that they're not in my area, but that doesn't matter. I know what I support them, right? All right. Also, this by you being in the civic engagement, you are able to enlighten these people who do not always walking down the street in your neighborhood. They don't know that you got potholes or that you've had crime is at an all-time. Somebody been stealing, the lights, the little lights out of people's yard or whatever. They don't know that. Yes, that seems like simple. And yes, you call the police and you don't complain or whatever, but tell your rep as well. You don't know. You never know what laws are being put on, what bills are being put out there in front of them that are trying to be made into laws, unless you call or you ask or you find out. Heard y'all were in session. What happened? How do I find out what your viewpoint is on what's going on? You got to take the time to do that, guys. Another one is respect for the rule of law. We know as Black people, it is stressful to walk out your house. Sometimes it's stressful to be in your house and be Black, because you can't sleep and be Black. You can't watch TV and be Black. You can't play with your nephew and be Black in your own shit. Why? Because police, we got corruption. Because here's the thing, and I know I'm all over the place, but hey, you know how this works. This is the thing that we have to understand as brown and Black people, and as masculine presenting. There's groups out there that hate us, that are against us, white supremacy and all that kind of stuff. They've taken the time to tell their children and educate their children on, hey, go get that education. Read that book. Ask questions. Be intrigued. And then guess what? I want you to go be the police. I want you to go be the doctors. I want you to go be lawyers. I want you to go be judges. I want you to go be senators and House representatives and possibly run for president or be vice president, right? They're doing that, but we're not doing that. We ain't telling our children that. So the respect for the rule of law. What does that mean? Citizens are expected to obey laws and regulations that are established through democratic processes. Now, there are some laws that are out there. There's laws out there that need to be taken off the books, of course. There's laws out there that are right now, when it comes to the LGBT plus community, I believe the last time I checked, there's over 200 and something bills on state books that are trying to be passed that are against you. Against you having your wife, against you living with your wife, against you being masculine presenting. And I'm going to tell you something. They started with the transgender community. Let's just be real about this. They started with bullying, and I'm going to put it out there, they're bullying the transgender community. What they started doing was they said, hey, these drag queens are reading to the children and they're changing their minds. So now little boys want to dress up like drag. I need y'all to realize that way, way back in Shakespeare time, when he was writing Othello, when he was writing Macbeth, when he was writing Romeo and Juliet, women were not actresses. So who played the women roles? Oh, very feminine men did. Oh, drag queens. Yeah. And it was okay back then. So why it ain't okay now? We got to think about those things. And then, and when you are talking to your reps, when you are talking to people who want your vote, you need to be asking them, what are your true views on transgender? And I'm going to tell you like this. Parents, that's your child. You and the decisions that you make are for you and your children. I have nothing to say about what Samantha down the street around the corner decides to do with her children. As long as she's not beating them, they are fed. And if they one of them choose to say, you know what, Mom, I just don't feel comfortable in who I am. I don't really like wearing dresses. So can I wear this, and this? Mom probably like, it's clothes. I don't care. Because your baby happy. Now, as that person gets older, they start really realizing that it's not just the clothes. They're comfortable and they're safe in the clothes, but there's something more to it. And you and your child will come to you and talk to you. Why? Because you have established that kind of relationship with them. And you can go from there to do any researching and whatever y'all need to do together. But it should not be the government that dictates how you deal with your child. Okay. And I say that in effect of when we are talking about the laws, you got and the things that are being established, you got to ask, because again, there are over 200 and something bills on books in different states that will definitely damage us. Getting back to the drag queen, there are a lot of states are like you banning drag queens from reading with children, but they're also banning drag queens. They're saying that you cannot impersonate a woman, or you cannot dress up and be a transvestite or transsexual. Excuse me. And what they're also using are words like male impersonator, female impersonator. That puts a target on the backs of masculine presenting women, because it is not what I interpretate me to be. It's those that see me when I walk out my house. So Martha, or Karen, who sees me and goes, hey, Officer Bob, that's a male impersonator. And I get arrested when I'm sitting here saying, no, I'm not a male impersonator. I'm just me. This is just Amber. This is how I am. I'm masculine presenting. Boom. Now we have a problem, because Amber gets put in jail and arrested for male impersonating, which is against the law, because a bill got passed because she didn't pay attention to the people that she voted in, or she didn't vote at all, because she thought, this is nonsense. This is some bullshit. Then she goes in front of a judge, and the judge is not having it. So he ends up giving her a felony. It becomes a felony. That bill has passed in a couple of states, though, ladies and gentlemen. It has passed in a couple of states, and it is a felony. Do you know what happens to people with felonies? They cannot vote. Guess what that just did? You just took me off the market. You just took me out of the game. You just fucked up my citizenship, or my rights as a citizen to be able to vote. There it is right there. Listen to what I'm telling y'all. You must pay attention, right? So the rule of to respect for the rules of law. I'm not saying all the laws are right, but if you don't know them, we can't change them. We can't go to our representatives and our houses and our senators and say, this is a bad law. We need it to be changed. But here's another thing. In turn, they also have the right to challenge unjust laws. That means when you see a law that ain't right, you can go to your people and say, I voted you in, and I voted you in because you understood the LGBTQ plus community. So you said, and you wanted my vote. And now they're trying to put this law. I need you to help fight against it. All right. And you can advocate for legal reforms through peaceful and lawful means. What's that mean? That means your right to protest, your right to have a sign and walk around in front of the Capitol building going, this is not a good law. Know who is. Now, on the spectrum of the person who's running against a Democratic person right now that is running for president, this gentleman is making it so that you cannot protest if you are not white supremacists. You will not be able to protest. You will be, even if it's a peaceful protest, you will go to jail. Everyone will go to jail. And how they treat you is fair game, baby. They can toss you around, they can beat you, they can do whatever they want to do. That is his rule. That is what he's saying. That is what he's talking about. So again, understanding Civics 101 is majorly important. Let's go on to the next one, paying taxes. The one thing we all hate to do. I hate it with a passion, but guess what? As a citizen contributing to the funds of public service. Oh, wait a minute. What does that mean? That means such as infrastructure. That's our highways, our byways, our roads, sidewalks, all those things. Also, education. Oh, wait a minute. That's our school system. That is making sure that if you feel that history should not be whitewashed, these children should not grow up thinking that Black people were brought here as indigenous servants. No, we were brought here as slaves. We didn't ask to be here. Okay? Then we got to make sure our education is properly done. To not have them erase Martin Luther King Jr., which, or Malcolm X, or Marcus Garvey, or George Washington Carver, or any of those people. They are going to let me erase that. Rosa Parks. Let me erase that. Those people are monumental to the struggle and the things that happen in the history of this country. They're gonna wipe it clean. So guess what? Paying your taxes go to education, healthcare. Oh, wait a minute. That means those that live in Atlanta can go to Grady. Grady is a public hospital. And if you don't have insurance or you cannot afford to go to a private doctor, you can go to Grady. Many people do that. But if we're not paying attention to who we're putting in office, and we're not understanding our civics, we don't understand our civic right, then guess what? That can fall to the wayside. And then defense is also, it's not so much I do not believe, and this is just me, I don't believe that Mexicans and Black people are bringing in fentanyl. Let me just say that out loud. I don't believe that that's us. Okay. One, we don't have the money to do that. Now we might be bringing in a couple of blunts, maybe some weed, a little bit for us. Maybe some people are doing that. But to bring in the amount of drugs that people keep saying that the Mexicans and Black folks are bringing into this country, it's a no for me. It's a no. Okay. We all know who really does handle the drug industry, literally. And I mean that on the illegal side and the legal side, pharmaceuticals and all of that. But that is something that when it comes to defense, we need to make sure defense is helping us be safe in this country. So there's terrorist, international and domestic. Domestic, let me tell you, Black Lives Matter movement is not a terroristic group. It's not. They're not terrorist group. It's a peaceful group of Black folks that's saying, please, can you stop killing us for a traffic stop? Can you stop killing us because we sleep in our bed? Can you stop killing us because I'm playing with my nephew and somebody wants to make sure I'm safe that my neighbor wants to make sure I'm safe and you blow me away in front of my nephew? These are things that this is what I mean by, hey, we have a defense. And this is through taxes. Paying taxes is the legal obligation that supports the functioning of the state. When you pay taxes, you are paying it in to make sure that your sewage is run well. And if it doesn't, they got to fix it. Make sure it's literally supposed to be the infrastructure, which is your airports, your transit system, your public transit system, your roads, your highways. Okay. That's the money that makes sure those things are taken care of. We pay taxes to make sure those things are done. We pay state taxes out of our checks to make sure that those things are taken care of. And by all means, we need to continue to do that. That's how you understand that's you paying in. That means, wait, if I pay for something, that means I get to use it. That means I should have a say-so about it. Correct? Yes, definitely. Let's look at the other one. Serving as a juror. We all get the little notice that says, hey, you've been called to be a juror and a week should go. That is actually, in a way, I feel like that's a major thing. It's like, hey, that's cool. I think that's a really cool thing to be chosen to be that. So citizens may be called to serve on juries, ensuring that trials are fair and just. Jury duty is an essential part of the legal process and a responsibility that upholds the justice system. I think it's necessary. And let me tell you why I think if you get summons to be on a jury, you should really do it. Because a lot of times we are not represented, and the person who we need to represent is the person that has no representation in the jury box. Okay? You look around, if you are a masculine presenting person, that whether you did it or didn't do it, you should still be able to look and see your peer. Your peer is us. It ain't a white man that's 56 years old that don't like gay folk. That's not who it should be. So understand that if you are summoned to be on a jury, please, by all means, take that opportunity to honor, I think. That's just my personal opinion on it. I think it's a great thing to have, okay? We're going to do a little pause here for just a moment while I take care of a little business. As I can see, my dog is a little upset here. Let me give him a treat, and we'll see if we can continue this conversation without interruptions. Because I understand, sir. I understand. So we're going to see if we can get a little bit going here. I'm going to take one more break. Give me one moment, ladies and gentlemen. I shall be right back. Like I said, it's just seconds away. Just need to take a little brief, little quick little pause for the cause kind of thing. Now, where was I? Let's get back to what I was saying. So serving as a jury or a juror is to me a really great thing. And again, as we've mentioned, it makes sure you being a juror and being selected is kind of like your obligation to making sure that whether that person commits a crime or not, that it is truly just and fair. Okay. Advocating for rights and justice. That's the last thing as part of this, you know, what your responsibility is. Citizens have the right to petition the government, advocate for social justice, and work towards the protection of civil rights for all members of society. Democracy relies on the active defense of rights, especially in the face of injustice. That means that when you see something wrong, say something. That is what that really is. And if it's the government that's doing it, we have to do something about that. We have to go in and say, hey, this is not right. And we need to change. That law is not for everybody. That law is very biased about this group. That law does not cover and does not help everybody. And there are some laws that are being put on. Like I said, there's some laws right now they're not laws yet. They're bills with the potential to be laws that these different states are voting on to have it done in their state, to say there is no equality when it comes to marriage. There is no gay marriaging. And there are places right now where the judges have said, if you go and Martha is working and Martha does not agree with you and you know, Tom and Steve getting married, she ain't got to give you no marriage license. That is her right. She can do that. She can say, I'm not doing it because of marriage. Or because of religion. I don't believe that is something I should be doing. And she doesn't have to do it. And guess what? You out of luck if anybody else in that office agrees with her, because you're not going to get a marriage license. Let's think about it, folks. You got to pay attention. And that's why I say there are some responsibilities that we as citizens must start doing. We cannot just go to work, come home. It's not, our society is no longer allowing us to be able to do that, guys. Because if you bury your head in the sand, we're going to get fucked. Okay? We're going to all be in dresses. We ain't going to be able to be with Donna or Susie or Mary or Keisha or Tina or Kia or Tia or, you know, or Ebony. We're not going to be able to be with them because they're not going to allow us to be with them. They're going to say that's against the law. And and that's not what we want. We want to be able to be free in this country, truly be able to have all our rights. And it's our right to live your life. As long as you're safe, hey, do what you do. I should not be governing your bedroom. I should not be governing your body. So that's major right there. So democracy is we're going to look at the overview of different forms of government. Actually, I'm going to actually skip that part. And we'll go back to that at a later date and talk about the different forms of government. I just feel like right now it is very much something that we need to be looking at in terms of what is happening, right? What is going on? And let's look at this as, you know, let's look at Black leaders and some of the movements that have used civic engagement to create social change. We'll just brush upon some of them, right? So we all know the most famous thing is the civil rights movement. Let me explain to you all. This right here is a passage from Voting Rights Act of 1965. Has not been signed. You get the wrong person as your president, it might never get signed. And then that one day comes where it's time to vote and they say you can't vote. Black people can't vote. You ain't got no right to vote. You are not even a fifth of a human being. They're trying to take you back. Please understand, if what this gentleman said was 300 years ago, America was amazing. I don't think so. On one half of my family, yeah, it was amazing. Because guess what? They were plantation owners. They were slave owners. They were immigrants from Ireland. But on the other hand of my family, no, it wasn't all great gravy and wonderful. Okay. So we have to understand that the civil rights movement was led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., John Lewis, rest his soul, amazing man, both of them. Fannie Lou Hamer, um, they did marching, they did protesting, they did sit-ins, they did voter registration drives, to dismantle segregation laws and promote voter rights. That's what the civil rights was about, was giving us the right to do what we are doing right now. That some of you all are sitting on your ass talking about, I ain't doing it, I ain't voting for her, I ain't voting for her. I mean, that's what these people are dead. There are many that died working didn't even get to see, as Martin Luther King said, the promised land of us being able to have the right to vote. Some people didn't even make it that far, but they marched, they sacrificed. And I think in this today's society, because we think we are so privileged now, we so free right now, that we cannot, that we can't be brought back to that level that we were before we had the right to do anything. Think about a white man telling you to shut the fuck up because you can't talk. You ain't got no right to speak to him. You ain't got no right to look at him. How you gonna look? You don't look. When you walking down the street and you see people and you get eye to eye, you can't do that. That's the thing you got to think about. That's what the civil rights movement was kind of crushing all of that. They worked hard. They marched. They protested. They talked to people. They voted people in, or wanted to vote people in, or chose people that would make it so that they could get the right to vote. And when that passed, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which is now, if I'm correct, is now considered the John Lewis the John Lewis voting right, if I'm correct. If I'm not, please send me an email, guys, if I'm not correct. But I do believe they switched the name and made it the John Lewis voting right. Okay. But it is, nevertheless, it is something that presidents signed, I believe, every year. It ain't been signed. It ain't been signed. When Obama left office, the next president did not sign it. None of the presidents since then have signed it. So think about this. Think about what I'm telling y'all. It has not been signed. So our right now, which we shouldn't have to have. Let me just say that, because the Constitution and Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal. Everybody in this country is a human being and should have the right to vote. But we have to go and we have to put an amendment together so we can vote. It's crazy. But nevertheless, that is something that we are looking at. Now, another group was the Black Panther Party, which I'll let y'all know, May the 2nd, my birthday, and May the 2nd, I'm not sure if it was 1967, but May the 2nd is declared as Black Panthers Day. And I understand it because I am that person. I am black, and black. Okay. So, but this particular party, let me tell you, white people put a stain on the Black Panthers Party. Why? Because they carried guns and they protected their cities, their areas, their neighborhoods. They were like, we ain't gonna have this happening in our neighborhood. We're gonna get our neighborhood to be functioning. Plus, they made sure that kids had food. They made sure that some of these ladies who could not afford to get food stamps or didn't get food stamps could still feed their families. They took care. They were engaged in their community through community service. So let's look at it like this. While often remembered for their militantness, right? They were military. I'm not military. They were militant, gang related. So people want to say that's how they want to look at it in a bad sense, but it wasn't. They were very much a militant organization. Black power, all of that. Black is beautiful. I remember all of that time. That's when, back in the 70s, the late 60s, early 70s. This is what you were seeing. The Black Panther Party also engaged in community service and civic action. They organized programs like free breakfast for children, health clinics, using grassroots efforts to address the needs of the marginalized communities. That's not a bad thing, guys. But if you ask somebody else, that Black Panthers, oh, that's horrible. They were out there being militant. They were out there going against they lawbreakers and all of this. No, they took care of their community though. When the politicians would not. The politicians didn't see no money. I'll say it again. Politicians didn't see no money in those marginalized communities. They didn't give a damn what was going on over there in Compton or Watts or Inglewood or nothing like that. Let that do. They didn't care about Perry Homes. They didn't care about Grady Homes. They didn't care about Thomasville. They didn't care about none of that. Because that's where, let the crime be over there. That's how people saw that. Now you also had the Shirley Chisholm political campaign. And we all know who Shirley Chisholm was. And if you do not know, please take a moment and stop this recording, stop listening, and go look her up. It's very important that you need to know who she is. Okay? Because she cracked the ceiling. She cracked it. For Harris to be able to run on through it as VP, Shirley Chisholm cracked it. She cracked the ceiling. So she had an organization that was the Shirley Chisholm political campaign. Shirley Chisholm became the first, so that the first Black woman elected to the U.S. Congress in 1968. Think about that. The first woman to be elected to Congress in 1968, running under the slogan "Unbought and Unbossed." That's interesting. Unbought and unbossed. There it is. I'm sorry. Unbought and unbossed. Her campaign set a powerful example for Black women in politics and civic leadership. Basically, you got to give credit where credit's due when it comes to that. So these are some powerful Black organizations that are in our midst, that leaders and that have been able to make changes. Now, everybody says, "Oh, that was a long time ago," but guess what? It's sad that we got to do this all over again because we didn't pay attention. We weren't asking, we just giving our vote out to people. Yeah, you can have it, you get my vote, you get my vote, you get my vote. Now you can't do that. You can't do that now. You got to pay attention to who you're doing, what are they looking for? Are they looking to make my life better and safer and more productive? That's what we need to be asking. All right, then we have, of course, the movement for Black Lives. All right, which is following the death of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and many others. The Black Lives Matter movement merged as a new wave of civic engagement, focused on racial justice, police reform, and community empowerment. Amen. All of those things. Now they keep wanting to say that they Antifa and they bad and that's who was at January 6th was Black Lives Matters at Antifa. No, it wasn't. No, I didn't see no Black people. I'm just gonna be real. I didn't see nobody. January 6th in the Capitol, I didn't see Black folks other than the officers that were being smushed and crushed and beat up, all that kind of stuff. But other than that, nah. One of Black Lives Matters doing that. And if you believe that, I want you to do some homework, do some research. All right. Care about what's going on in your community, guys. That's the biggest thing. All right. So through protests, lobbying, and public education, the movement continues to advocate for change. It does. It's a powerful thing. And if you can locate the local chapter in your area, please talk to them. Let them know, hey, I'm just trying to find out what's going on, what kind of organizations I need to be a part of, things of that nature. Stacey Abrams and the voting right advocacy. This is a more recent Stacey Abrams, who ran for governor in Georgia twice. And she works in Georgia, particularly with her own organization, Fair Fight, has been critical in combating voter suppression and increasing voter turnout, especially in marginalized communities. As we all know, I can tell you now, Fulton County used to have a plethora of voting areas you could drop off your early ballot, your absentee ballot, do all that stuff. Now, I think it's one spot. And I want you to know, Fulton County is a huge county. And you got maybe 2 or 3 spots that people can go to and drop their ballot off at. That's ridiculous. That's the stuff that Stacey Abrams' organization tries to stop from happening. But it does happen. It does. It does. It happens. And we have to understand that. And we have to be prepared for that by doing what? Being engaged in your in your community. Be engaged as a civic uh investigator. Let's just say, be a civic investigator. Ask the questions. These officers, if you voted, let's say you voted for Tom and Tom didn't win, but Bruce did, you still go and call Bruce, I didn't vote for you. I didn't vote for you, honey, because you said you was gonna do this, and this. Why do you want to do those things? And what no, we need to talk about that. They work for you no matter if you voted for them or not. If they're in that position, go find out what's going on, guys. And I know I'm talking on a local and a state level, but right now that's important. Now we getting into the presidential. That's still, it's important that you vote there as well. But these are organizations that have been out here, that are in the trenches, in the front line, taking the hits so that we can have these laws and do reform and be able to be good citizens and understand be able to do our role that I mentioned earlier. Because if these things are not in place, we as brown and black people do not get the opportunity to do any of those things, okay, that I mentioned earlier. So you got to understand that civic engagement through voting, community organizing, policy advocacy has also been a critical pathway for Black leaders and movements to challenge systems of oppression and foster social justice. We have to understand what that is. We have to understand how to make things better. Okay. We have to be able to really understand and be really truly involved in our communities on a national, state, and local level. All right. And I mean that. It is definitely an important thing that we got to do. We have we don't really have a choice, guys. Right now, the way this country is and the temperature of it right now, it's lots of hate going on. And we cannot afford for us to get wrapped up in that. We have to stay focused on the prize, which is to make sure that our future, that there is a future for Black and brown kids. There is an opportunity for them to go to any school that they want to. And me personally, I am one of those people at this point right now, when they got rid of the affirmative action and the way white people responded to why that should happen and the nana boo-boos and all that kind of shit. I don't want my grandkids going to nothing but a HBCU. Like, to be perfectly honest, I mean, I am at that is where I am right now, in the understanding of, hey, I would prefer that be the case, right? So I say all of that, and we're winding it all down. Civics 101, right? We have to understand, and I hope that we all do. And I did not say what the definitions of what our government is, so I'm gonna go back and do that. Let's do that now. Is to understand what the what do we call it? The three offices of government and what they do. And that's important, because we got to understand that, because people keep saying, like I said, people keep saying stuff like, hey, Harris, or Biden didn't do this, and now we all looking crazy, and this, that, and the other. And it's not what you think these people are supposed to be doing. You have it all twisted. Okay. There are three branches of our government. There's the legislation branch, there's the executive branch, and there's the judicial branch. I'm saying that properly. Excuse me if I am not. But understand that the legislation branch makes laws. That is the government that makes up two houses. That is your Senate and your House of Representatives. Those are the people, and I'm going to say it again, that the legislative branch makes the laws. That is Congress. That's made of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Those are the people that make laws, right? Those are the people that when you say, hey, we got bad. We don't have nothing, happening at the border. They just letting the immigrants come in, and there's no border laws, and there or kids are being shot, and ain't nobody making no gun control, no gun laws. These are those people, not Biden, not Harris. It is the legislative branch. All right, the executive branch. They enforce the law. What is that? That now we getting into what Biden and Harris do. They are the executive branch. They are the ones who are the law enforcers. They say, "Oh, Congress, that's what y'all want to do," because the legislation says, "Hey, here's the bill. We passed this right here. This is what we want to put into law." And then it comes to executive branch, and they say, "All right, it's the law." Then they move it to the judicial branch. They interpret the law. What does that mean? That means your courts, your police, those people, that's who they interpret what was voted on by Congress, that was signed by the president and put into law. And now we got to make sure that it's done properly, so there's no misunderstandings. When we say you are guilty of X, Y, and Z, here's the law that backs us up on it, because it has been passed and now it has been officially made a law. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it right there. That is the basics of your government. That is the basics of your government. Now, your Constitution embodies principles. It embodies limited government, separation of power, checks and balances, and federalism. Those are things that are part of your Constitution. You feel me? They are what embodies. This is the Constitution embodies those principles. Your limited government says the principle that the power of the government is limited by the Constitution, a system of government in which the government is given only powers specifically listed in written documents. What's that mean? That means if it is listed in the Constitution that this is how this is supposed to be, then that is what is enforced, usually by the government, which is where we have our amendments, right? Put our amendments in, and we say, hey, we had to put these amendments in because what was written in 1776 don't really apply right now. All of it it's a growth thing. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. If you have a nonprofit, if you are part of a fraternity or sorority, and you have a nonprofit, you have a constitution and bylaws, your Constitution is 1776. Are you with me? Your Constitution is just like the Declaration of Independence. It never gets touched, never gets changed. Your bylaws are what you amend, what you grow with, what you add to. That's what you're doing. That's why we have Amendment 13, which is the right for Black folks to vote, right? That's the Civil Rights Act of I believe 1965. That's what that is. That's what that means, right? The separation of power. There are 3 branches of the government, each with its own power and duties. Just went over it: legislation, executive, and judicial. Those are the 3 powers of your government. They are the ones that handle different things. So you got to stop saying, Harris didn't give us this. Harris ain't doing this. Harris letting the people do this. Harris ain't doing that. It's not her job to do that. It's not Biden's job to do that. It's the people that you elected to represent your area, your interests, your best interests at heart are the ones that you need to be looking at, because they're the ones in Congress that are making the bills into laws. If you do not understand I'm going to give you a simple way to understand how this is done. It is from it's not from Sesame Street. I think it's from the electric company. And if you go to YouTube and put in, what is it? I'm Just a Bill. Put that in there. You will find it's a little cartoon thing. I remember when I was growing up, is how I understood how a bill becomes a law. It is a little cartoon. He's singing, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. And it goes through the whole process. It is amazing. It's sad that I'm 56 years old and I still remember that back when I was little. I remember that is how I understood how laws are made in this country. I know that's crazy, but yes, check it out. It's great. It's cute. It's still around. It's still relevant, of course, because a lot of people do not understand how things become a law. And it's because, let me explain why it is. It is because, one, we stopped paying attention to our government until we heard a man say, you no longer have to be politically correct. When we had this man that has no experience in he barely can run his own businesses. Every business he's ever touched has been what? Bankrupt. He's lost millions and trillions of dollars, but yet he got voted in to be president. And he sat in that seat, and he made laws. He made what they call executive orders. He made laws. That's what he did. His executive orders were put in place, however many he made. Now, right now, he got 250 waiting for November the 6th. So he can go, I am the president, and he going to start 250 executive orders that will take your right as a masculine presenting female away from you. He will then govern your body. He will govern who you're with. He will govern what kind of job you have. He will govern what kind of education your children or you can have in this country. And I say all of that because you need to understand that there are three branches of government. They each do something different that is necessary for the success of running this country. If you remove all of that, what do you have? A dictatorship. Listen to me carefully. A dictatorship. All right. So separation of power is that there are three branches of government, which with each has its own power and duties, checks and balances. Each branch checks the powers of the other two branches. So, hey, there's three of us in the room. I check you, you check her, she check me. That's how this works. That's how this works. Federalism is the power to divide between the federal government and the state government. So what a lot of things they're trying to do when they federally got rid of Roe versus Wade, one of the things that they're trying to do is say it should be state by state. So if your state says yes, you can get an abortion, that's a state that, they're going to provide whatever needs and necessary things to be able to make that happen. If your state says no, then it's against the law in that state. And therefore, you have to make sure that you understand, because again, state is about to have an election as well. People are going to be running. Will you be ready? Will you know who to vote for? Are you listening to who you have in office now? And are you listening to who wants to be in office? Got to do this, guys. It's a responsibility that we all have to have, okay? So if we're going to let's look at our legislative branch a little bit. That was not what I wanted to do. I don't know what happened, but that was not it. No. So again, I want y'all to take a moment, because I know I have to do it every once in a while, and really just make sure we understand what's going on in our country. What is the responsibility of these guys? What are they supposed to truly do? Who's under them? So let's look at that. Okay, let's have that conversation real quick. So, legislative branch. The legislative branch is made up of the House and the Senate, known collectively as Congress. Okay. Among other powers, the legislative branch makes all laws, declares war, regulates interstate and foreign commerce, and controls taxing and spending policies. The following legislation organizations that are under this particular branch ends up being, and half of these I'm sure none of us have actually even thought about, is the architect of the Capitol, the Center of Legislative Archives, which is the National Archives and Records Administration, I cannot talk. The Budget Office, Government Accountability Office, Government Publishing Office, the Library of Congress, Office of Compliance, and the U.S. Senate. All right. That's all they do. They are the ones who are making the laws. You mad if you say, well, Biden put out the gun control. He said I can't have a gun. He ain't take away your right to bear arms. This branch of the government passed a bill to be a law, and that is what that is. But again, I don't believe, and this is just an opinion of me, guns do not kill people. People kill people. The person who pulls trigger, gun, if I put the gun on the table, it's never going to kill nobody until a human being touches it. Then we have a problem. So if we're not putting any gun control, no kind of laws, no kind of bills, no kind of nothing in place, then we're going to keep having this same thing that we always have, having to teach our kids how to handle a school shooter. And we're teaching our children, this is how you solve your problems. You get mad, you don't like what little Susie said, go home, get your daddy gun and come back. I want y'all to think about that. Think about it. We think it's little shit. We don't think of nothing of it, but that's really what it is. That's what's going on. So let's look at our executive branch. The executive branch consists of the president, his and her advisors, and various departments and agencies. This branch is responsible for enforcing the laws of the land. The following are executive branch organizations and agencies. So under this particular branch, you have the executive office of the president, which is the White House. You have the president's cabinet, which are federal agencies. You have the independent federal agencies and commissions. You have the USA Gov. You have the Federal Information Center, and you have U.S. Jobs. All those things are underneath there. In other words, your president and vice president do not make the law. They do not. So they don't issue out the money. They don't do none of that. When people keep saying Trump gave him a check, Trump wanted to have his name. It's an ego, ladies and gentlemen. He's a narcissistic ass wipe. And that is what he wants to do. He was like, I want to put my name on the check. So some people got checks that he had written out. If you didn't do direct deposit, then you got a check. When you got a check, it had his name on it. So you assume he gave it to you. No. And let me make something real clear about those checks that we got during the pandemic. Please understand that's your money because they're asking for it back when you file your taxes, i.e., I know. Okay? Just being clear about some stuff. Let's go to our last branch, which is our judicial, I cannot talk today, forgive me, branch. This branch consists of the U.S. Supreme Court, the Federal Judicial Center. According to the Constitution, the judicial power of the U.S. shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time obtain and establish. The Federal Judicial Center is the education and research agency for the federal courts. This is where your law that has been put in place is truly enforced. Okay, it is actually implemented. It is if it says jaywalking is breaking the law and you do that, then this department says, hey, that bill that just went in is law now. So if it's law, we have to make sure you are abiding by it. That's it. So I hope that everyone was able to, and I know most of y'all out there know what it is to do what it is to be civil, to understand what the outcome is. Excuse me, for the when it comes to your civil rights, and when it comes to being the civics 101, and when it comes to being what you have, what is your responsibility as a citizen of the United States of America? You are a citizen of this country. Your vote does matter. Your voice is needed. Your voice does matter, because if you do not voice, that's like you telling me, I cut your yard wrong, but you'll never say nothing. It's your yard. Say something. You work too hard. You everybody right now, come on, guys. We work too hard for these carton of eggs and for this milk and for this $3 gas that we got put in our cars. We work too hard for our children to have opportunities. Better opportunities than we had, better opportunities than our parents had, better opportunities than their parents had, so on and so forth. We work too hard for us to be quiet. Your vote matters. And understanding civics and understanding how your vote matters, where your vote is always needed. It is always needed when it comes to it's always needed on every level. But by you knowing to see some results instantly, so to speak, start learning what's going on in your city. Start learning what's going on in your county. Look at the school board. Who teaching your children? Bet you don't know what books have been banned that your child will never know. I watched Florida burn the book about Hank Aaron. And what did Hank Aaron do? Oh, I know what he did. He broke some records that white boys had put in place. He was a better athlete in baseball than the white boys were. They took books about Serena, the Williams sisters, took their books off. In Florida, they took their books down. So you can't even, they're banned. So you don't get to learn who they are. These amazing women who play tennis, broke all kinds of records, set all kinds of records, did all kinds of great stuff. Amazing. But because it makes some white people feel uncomfortable, I remember when Black is beautiful. I remember that statement. I was probably about 6 or 7. I had a t-shirt that said that, Black is beautiful. I remember my mother I had, long hair. My mother got my hair cut and I rocked the afro. It was a rather large afro, but I rocked the afro for probably about half a school year. And then, got back to getting the perm and getting my hair braided and all that kind of stuff. But I remember my mother being that feminist that she used to tell me all the time, Amber, you do anything you want to do. Don't let no little boy tell you can't do something. You can do anything a man can do. And sometimes, depending on what it is, you might be doing it better than them. And understand, let's not get crazy with it. No, I can't pee, standing up. I don't have that ability. I don't want that ability. And when I say there are things that I can do better than a lot of men, it is on a political level, possibly on a speaking level, possibly on a networking level, possibly, on managing, leading, all those things. I feel like and you should feel that way too. You should be having the confidence. We as Black people have lost that because we done got caught up in all kinds of shit. We are not built. We're not built like our white counterparts. We have to pay attention to what is going on in this country. We here now. Where we going? Where we going? A lot of us talk about, I can leave. I can leave. I can pack up and leave and go to Mexico, probably live a wonderful and great life, and it'd be amazing. But I don't really want to. You feel me? So I'm saying all this because it is important to understand that your future truly is at stake. Now, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to have an episode with the NAACP, which I did not mention in this, breakdown there, who they are and what they do, because I am going to do a special podcast just with them. Okay. When I'm actually going to have the president of the Georgia NAACP, who's also the Atlanta president as well, chapter president and vice president, I think might be the ones that are on here. And we are going to talk about reintroducing NAACP to the LGBT community, us, and what we're going to do, what they doing for us. And then we're going to talk about this. This is something that I really, really, really want to have conversation about, which we will most likely have on October the 24th when we do mass presenting for Harris. We will have this exact same possible conversation. And the thing is, I am tired of every 4 years, I got to get ready. And I hear the same, you hear it too. This is the most important election in our lives. When are we going to stop having to say that? You know why we have to do that? Because we vote on November the 5th. November the 6th, we rub our fat bellies and we go, "Ooh, we did that." And then we do this. And we go back to sleep. And then somebody taps on, "Oh my God, the house on fire again, the house on fire again." Then we got to go back out there and we got to, "All right, everybody, come on now. Give me your vote. Come on now. We got to stop doing that. One of the reasons why I say we got to stop doing that is because it's disrespectful to those who died fighting for us to even have the right to vote. My mother and father should not have to be doing this shit all over again. You feel me? Your mother and father should not have to worry about the fact that that there's a possibility we lose our right to vote. We lose our right to being 100% of a human being that is productive in this country. And then going back to being seen as a fifth of a person. Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. That is one of the conversations that we're going to be having. And that's one of the conversations that I want to be having. One, with NAACP. Two, with my masculine presenting women that we're going to be talking with. And a lot of them will be political officers, representatives, senators, things of that nature. On that, now that event is called Mass Presenting for Harris. And that is October the 24th at 8 o'clock. And that will be a live thing as well. Please, please, please join us, okay? So I give you all of this. Please take a moment. Just if you didn't know or you think somebody didn't know, you know my motto. Y'all know what I say. If you did, whether you liked what I said, agreed with what I said, no matter what, take this offline and have this conversation with your people. Talk about your civics. Talk about Civics 101. Please have this conversation, guys. It's critical right now because we've got to learn what our government does so that we can understand who truly has our interests at heart. And that is the thing I want you to think about. Listen to what these people are saying, and sometimes listen to what they're not saying. But the biggest thing is, if someone says, I'm for the people, I'm going to make middle class be able to breathe, that's you. She talking to you. If she looks like you, she talking to you. And as a Black woman myself, I'm giving her all 100%. I ain't endorsing nobody. This is my personal just rant right now. But please understand, you got to be able to understand you want the person who has your best interest. Do not ever vote against your interests because there are people out there that are not for you. They are not going to do what they say. Some of them ain't even saying what they gonna do for you. They just rattling off bullshit. You got to pay attention. So I'll leave you with that. I want you all to have an amazing weekend. I want you all to be safe out there, love on each other, and again, have this conversation offline. Civics 101 with Real Bois Talk. My name is Amber Moore. Thank you for tuning in.